Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us for the very first Blooming on the Bayou of 2019. I don't know about you, but I am so excited for springtime to get here. Hopefully this week's cold snap will be the last really cold weather that we'll have before spring officially starts next week. With that in mind, I'm chomping at the bit to get outside and start working in our flower beds. So this week we have an early spring to-do list that we can help you check off to know what you need to be doing right now to get your yard in perfect shape for spring and summer. Joining me today to help us tackle some of that early spring to-do list is Heather Kirk-Ballard. And Heather is a consumer horticulture expert with the LSU AgCenter. And Heather, we're at my good friend Amelie's house in South Baton Rouge, and she was so kind to let us shoot here. If you look at her yard, she's got a lot of the same issues that most of us have right now. We've got some weeds that are creeping up. The grass hasn't really started to come back from the winter yet. This dollar weed, I have a major problem with at my house, and it's all times of the year, and it seems like the wetter the yard is, the worse it is.
Absolutely.
What are some things that we can do to spray, and why is that important other than the fact that it just doesn't look like what it needs to look like?
Well, it doesn't look good, and it causes competition. Now, underneath all these weeds, these broadleaf weeds, and like you said, the dollar weed here, we have a St. Augustine lawn.
Which is beautiful.
Yes, yeah. But we're having, it's having all this competition from the weeds, and so it's kind of choking it out. And so if you want to give your lawn a fair chance and get that St. Augustine really taken off, you need to take care of these weeds first. So you can use anything that has Trimec. Atrazine is a good product that you can use to kill broadleaf weeds.
Okay.
And then you want to wait to fertilize. We don't want to encourage growth when there's still a chance of frosts.
Okay.
So the rule of thumb in Louisiana is in South Louisiana, you want to wait until after March 15th to fertilize.
Okay.
In Northern Louisiana, you want to wait until after April 1st. So what you want to do right now, which is totally fine, is you get out there with that lawnmower. Go ahead and knock back the weeds. It's okay to go ahead and mow. There's a great turf grass home lawn series that the Ag Center has put out a lot of fact sheets on different types of turf grasses, their pests and diseases associated with those different types of grass. They also give recommendations for cutting heights, which is very important for all the different types of turf grasses. So if you go to the Ag Center website and look at the home lawn series, there is all sorts of recommendations and tips in there for all these types of questions that we've been talking about today.
We will be sure to link you to that on our website. Right now we're going to take a short break, but when we come back, Heather's going to give us some tips and tricks to make sure that your landscape, shrubs, and plants are in tip-top shape for spring. Stay with us. Hey guys, welcome back to Blooming on the Bayou. And Heather's going to help us right now with one of my favorite topics for the spring season, and I think it's the most wonderful time of year because of this plant right here. The azaleas are in full bloom, at least down here in South Louisiana, but there's something that you said we need to be paying special attention to, and that is pruning some of these landscape plants.
Right, you don't want to prune too early. I think in the spring people really just want to get out in the garden and just start whacking away at plants. But a lot of times they have not bloomed fully yet. Now this one has already bloomed, you can tell, because it's got some brown flowers that are spent. And so it's okay to go ahead and prune this one now. You can see all the new growth here. This is all, you know, fresh growth. You're gonna get a lot of leaves, and now after this bloom, it's just gonna leaf out. So if you don't want this kind of spindly look, and you wanna make it more compact, you can go ahead and trim back any kind of dead. You see a lot of dead wood here. You can go ahead and trim this back and get it back to a shape that you like. You can go ahead and cut this back kind of low, and it'll fill in from there. You'll get some new shoots and some new leaf growth down here, and then you can shape this a little bit more. You mentioned this kind of pop up here. You could remove that. And it doesn't take long for these plants to just fill right back out.
Okay.
And if you want to encourage more growth, if you know, this one isn't as full as some others, this is a great time to fertilize as well. When the plants are actively growing, you want to go ahead and fertilize.
So is it now a good time to fertilize all azaleas if you need to?
Right, yes. In the springtime it is. It's a great time to fertilize. One thing that some recommend is that if you do fertilize and it's already a well-established azalea like this one right here, if you fertilize too much, you're going to be doing a whole lot of pruning later on.
Okay.
So if it's well-established, you know, this is a smaller planting, and if you're going to trim, go ahead and fertilize it. It'll encourage new growth.
Okay, so we talked about pruning, we talked a little bit about fertilizing. Now let's move on to my second favorite topic when it comes to landscaping in the spring, and that's bedding plants. So let's go check out some of Amelie's bedding plants. So now we're going to move on to the exciting part of spring, which we talked about, and that's putting some new color in your landscape beds, our flower beds. And we've got, she looks like she's been doing some planting around here.
Yes. So this looks like Homestead Verbena, which is a Louisiana super plant. Does great, wonderful for the springtime. Throughout the summer into the fall will bloom immensely. She's also got some Dusty Miller here, some Liriope here back in the background. So this time of year is a great time to go ahead and pull weeds. And like we said before, once we get weeds pulled, we can put down a mulch layer. We're gonna get these plants in. Once we've got those in, we're gonna mulch the area to keep all the weeds down, all the weeds that we've meticulously pulled up here. This will help keep moisture on the plant, protect the roots, provide some organic matter, and it'll keep those weeds knocked back.
What are some other plants that you can plant right now to get some color into your beds?
So begonias are a great warm season plant. Alyssum, blue days. Lemon sedum is something that the LSU AgCenter released this year for one of the Louisiana super plants for 2019, and it's a great chartreuse yellow color.
Okay.
It does great in full sun. It's very drought resistant. So that's another great selection for the landscape.
Heather, thank you so much for giving us all this helpful advice. I know everyone is excited after listening to this to get out in the flower bed and start working and preparing your yard for spring. If you need any of the resources that Heather talked about today, anything from lawns or landscaping advice, or you have questions that Heather might be able to answer, you can submit those on our website, twilatv.org. We'll put a link to all the information that she talked about, and you can also submit your questions on our Blooming on the Bayou page. Heather, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you join us next time on Blooming on the Bayou.